Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Richardson's Rubicon podcast, Escape to EverQuest, because the world is going to hell in a handbasket. So let's escape to EverQuest. Obviously, I've chosen to escape to Project 1999 on the green server, and my character name is Uramtic. I play a gnome necromancer.
This season is about EverQuest, the MMORPG that started it all. Tell us what you think. Take part now. Visit richardsonsrubicon.com.
Rob Hall from Texas suggested that we talk about the differences between the TLP servers and Project 1999. And he supplied a list of items of the main differences. And we're going to be discussing those later. And you'll also find details of them in the show notes. Thanks, Rob. But right now, I just want to give you a little update as to what I am doing in the game. So currently, I'm in South Karana. I'm at Split Paw, just around there, just killing all the gnolls. Getting some good XP. I think I've just dinged 34, which is great. And I get Call to Bones, which is a super upgrade for my Lish line as a necromancer. And it just makes me look like a skeleton now. I wish I looked like a skeleton in real life rather than slightly overweight as I am. But there we have it. I look like a skeleton. It's brilliant fun. I do find, though, that there's rather a lot of people going around at the moment who are... I can't make my mind up whether they're deliberately kill stealing or accidentally, but it seems to be happening quite frequently. So they're literally... I fear kite my mobs because it's a wide open space, so it makes sense to do so. And the mob can be 70% health, and a wizard will run along, click on it, and fire a bolt at it. I mean, what's that all about, really? What I'm going to start doing is on the advice of a guildie, is basically I'm going to start shouting, that's my mob, get off. And seeing what happens from there. It's happening far too frequently for it to be accidental, and it's happening with a large number of people as well. So I think I don't know whether people think they can get away with it or not, but I don't find it good practice, and I am going to do my bit to stop it happening to me. On the plus side, the positive side of things, I want to give a great shout out to Ossur of Castle, and they twinked me with some great gear, I've got to say. I feel all sparkly and new. It's not top-end gear. I'm not overly twinked, but it's a great leg up from wearing the cloth that I was wearing before. And I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Ossur of Castle, for twinking me a bit there. That was great. As you say, I'm currently levelling near Split Paw. It's bringing back some superb memories of when I was playing there with my brother-in-law and some friends. And I really can't wait to go inside Split Paw with a group. So if that's something that you fancy doing, then hit me up. It's Uramtic in-game. On to the main segment, which is a conversation with Rob. And what we're doing is we're discussing the various aspects of EverQuest TLPs and comparing experiences.
Take part in the show, book yourself in and have your say. We'd love to hear from you. Visit richardsonsrubicon.com.
Hello, Rob. How are you today?
Doing good today. How are you, John?
I'm not bad, thanks. Not bad. So what have you been up to?
Well, I've been, bored and screwing around on EverQuest. I went ahead and bought like a year-long subscription. I'm going to play it anyways. So I've been toying around with different characters to play with, and I finally made a necromancer.
Excellent.
Yeah. I was enjoying it, and I'm like, okay, I want people to play with. I'm on the newest TLP Oakwynd. I'm like, I've always had this idea to start my own guild that's purely for leveling. So that's what I've done. I saw other people looking for a leveling guild, and I just did F it, and I just started one with them, and I've been recruiting. So it's called Olde Hearth. If anyone in Oakland wants to come and hang out, level up with me, I'm there.
Great. So have you got a Discord channel or anything like that?
I have set up a Discord channel. Once you join the guild, you can find that, but it's spelled like YE space Old is OLDE, and then Hearth HEARTH.
Oh, right. Brilliant.
So
we would pronounce that Ye Olde Hearth.
Yeah.
That's what we would say. Excellent. Wow. So how many new members have you got?
I think we're up to like 60 now. A lot of those are alts.
Heck. That's
It's
great.
also, well, definitely like more than half is alts and boxes, but there are some real people in there.
Wow. So, what, real people? Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's what you want is, warm bodies, not necessarily lots of alts and boxes, but it's people.
Excellent news, that is. So your hopes are as a leveling up guild and basically take it up to, I don't know, whatever level it is, and just have people to group with whenever you need it.
Yeah, in where Oakwynd is, it's at the Plains of Power expansion, was all the way up to 65.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Well, I wish you all the best of luck there. So if anyone is on Oakwynd server, get in touch with Ye Olde Hearth, and Rob will gladly have you on board, I think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, my character's name is Scarfester, and anyone can invite.
Cool. So we're going to talk about the quality of life improvements on TLP sites. And I think the first one we've got was the faster XP rate, wasn't it? Really? The no hell levels and the no class penalties.
Yes.
Ooh, sounds a bit easy to me.
It is a lot easier. I mean, the classic experience is that harder, slower experience rate. You sit there longer, maybe talk longer to whoever you're playing with, or just maybe you just like that soloing. But on TLPs, it's less of an issue for taking too long to level up.
So the way I understood it was the amount of XP that you had to earn was still the same. It's just that they smoothed out the gradient of that. So specifically towards the hell levels, the 30, 35, 45, all of that sort of stuff. Instead of having those with a wide amount of XP or a larger amount, they've just smoothed it out amongst all the rest. So do you really gain anything, is what I'm trying to say here? Just a psychological thing?
I don't think it's psychological. It definitely feels faster in general. There's no hell levels. I think there's probably a statistic somewhere, but it's definitely faster than it used to be. And nobody wants to be penalized for being a certain class or race.
No, I don't suppose you do, really. But weren't they there for balance when, say, for instance, Ixars had that regen and all of that sort of stuff? No. So picks, we've got as zones get crowded, a new pick of that zone will be created. You can use /pick to move to the newly created pick. This lets lots of people play in the same zone, in inverted commas, to help with overcrowding.
Yeah, this is a great one. Pix is definitely a great addition. You'll get a new server, and everyone wants to go to Crushbone. Everyone wants to go to Unrest. And if you only have one of those, then you either have to share or you have to fight for stuff. And it's better just have your whole new instance open, and you can just go in there. You can try all the different picks and see which one has a group for you.
Mm-hmm. I suppose the only downside of that, being as I'm sort of speaking on behalf of Project 1999, it seems.
Yeah.
The only downside of that would be that when a zone is full, you make an alternative choice, generally speaking, and you go and play somewhere else or do something else. And the way I see that working as a benefit would be that other zones get populated. So they're not just empty at the expense of a very popular zone. So
that's true.
Yeah, that's the way I'm thinking on that one. But I can't help but agree that it does sound like a great idea. I suppose if it was a great idea implemented in a limited and targeted fashion, it would be really good, and not applied to every single zone, but maybe say, for instance, you can't have more than 2 lower gucks or something. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. That sounds interesting, actually.
That definitely makes it like a lot easier. Like maybe people do want just the one zone per on the server, because like that's just how they remember it, and it's like more hardcore to them.
Yeah,
but I want to be able to do the main room in Unrest, and I want to be able to do stuff instead of waiting around.
Yeah, well.
So
yeah, I mean, I think I saw a forum post by someone, and they basically said, it was along those similar lines, actually. They said, oh yeah, I can't get into a zone because it's full, and that just makes me hardcore player. by this self-sacrifice making,
Yeah.
and I just thought, well, I see both sides here, and it just makes you inconvenienced, not hardcore, so.
Well, you can get to the higher level where you're raiding and your raiding guild's sitting there fighting for, I guess, spawns in a high-end zone. That could be kind of considered hardcore.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Definitely. I think that leads on very neatly to the next one, doesn't it?
Okay, yeah, raid instances. You can like your guild or your raiding group, you can spawn your own little instance once a week. I believe it's for like 6 days. So instead of competing with those other people that are out there, you can experience all the content without having to fight for it once a week. It's great. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, technically, I like the idea. I think from a guilds talking to each other and coming to agreements, I don't like the idea. But I don't feel I'm fully qualified to be able to make an opinion one way or the other, because I've not really taken part in any raids. So, I quite literally don't know what I'm talking about.
I've had fun both ways. Like even on a TLP, there's still the open world, and I've competed against another guild, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and it's a lot more fun competing actually sometimes. So you kind of get both of those on a TLP. You get your own content once a week, and then you can also fight for that additional boss kill.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Right. Now then, the next one. No corpse runs and smaller XP penalty upon death. Well, that's just a really rubbish idea, if you ask me. So,
yeah, I know. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say, Rob, I think that the corpse runs and the fear of death, really do make you have your wits more about you.
Yeah, totally.
And it makes the game more thrilling, I would say,
Definitely.
And the no corpse runs, I just can't get my head around that. I really can't get my head around that. I find that I know why they did it, because WoW basically did it.
Yeah. It's making it easier for everyone, and that's what people want.
But is it though? There's loads of people I've spoken to who don't want that.
It's what the majority wants, and the majority is always going to win. And there is this hardcore niche, and I guess they'll have to stick with the private servers to get more of this hardcore or this old school type of gameplay. There's definitely different players.
So what then happens to the point of a necromancer summon corpse spell?
Yeah, I mean lots of spells are just useless now.
Yeah.
But
so I mean you've just taken away the use of a whole load of certain classes.
Yeah, that happens, and that's unfortunate.
Sucks to be you is what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've started my necro, and I've got like 3 different summon corpses spells, and I'll just like, okay, I'll throw this at the back of my spell book because I know I'm not going to need this.
Oh no, how depressing though. They should have replaced those spells with something else, a little bit more, perhaps a sort of instant transport to a graveyard or something, where you had some sort of use in there. I don't know. Just
bring it to the zone.
Yeah. So, well, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on that one. I get your point. Fine. It's more of a convenience thing. I understand that. And I understand it makes people less scared of dying. Does it make them have more reckless behavior, though? Definitely. I mean, if you just want to risk like 3% experience, you can go and screw around in a dungeon for a while, and if you die, so what? Not a big deal. Yeah. You see, this is... You're not convincing me, Rob. So it's two-sided thing. Like both sides. I know. I just think I prefer careful group players, you know.
Yeah, I understand.
Scared of dying, so you play better and you act a bit more tight within the group, and or yourself if you're soloing. And the no corpse runs, I mean, that defeats the object of the wizard class for teleports, the druid class, perhaps even needing a sow to get across the zone, levitate, summon corpses, resurrections, you know, all of that sort of stuff. So it's just, I don't know.
You definitely don't need like resurrections to like your level 40 or so. That's where you start to notice it.
Oh, right. So you do actually notice it then?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a hit. Like I think it's like 4 or 5% at like higher levels at max level.
Right.
Notice that, because if I don't get that, like I'll de-level, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, okay. Because I de-dinged, you know, a couple of times, and it is a horrific experience, I've got to say, you know, but you kind of get it back. I mean, the only way is up, right? So
yeah, I haven't experienced that in probably since actual classic.
Right. Okay. You need to get on P99 and sort of have a.
That's right. I was there for a little bit. Yeah, I was there for a little bit, but I was with some people and I just kind of played with them, and that was it.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is in-game maps. In-game maps. So no need to have the P1999 wiki pulled up on a second monitor. In-game maps with TLPs.
Well, it's a lot easier to use. I know the private servers do have a map that's kind of pulled on a second screen, and it kind of, when you do /location, it shows you where you are in the zone. This is a lot easier to use. It's pulled up in your screen, and it's shows you where you are. It shows you where your group mates are. Makes it simple. But some of the dungeons aren't there in the original, so you have to download a second map pack to see the certain dungeons.
Right. Okay. I get how handy they are. I mean, how much of the screen real estate do they take up?
I recently bought a widescreen, and it takes up nothing now.
Okay. I'm trying to construct an argument where having a P1999 wiki on a second monitor is somehow better than having an in-game map. And I'm also trying to construct an argument as to why it's a terrible thing to have a map in the first place. And I can't. Yeah. So, you know, it's all good, isn't it, having a map?
It is good. It definitely takes, like, all this stuff takes away from the originality of the game and changes the game. Maybe people just don't want to spend as much time, you know, looking for where they want to go, you know?
I think when we had a bit of a chat about this, we did discuss that it kind of made you a little lazy about learning the area because you put less effort into learning what you could look and see in front of your face, and you just kind of like navigated using the map only. Do you remember us discussing that at all?
Not really, but I do remember I probably spent a lot more time just, you know, looking at a zone and figuring it out when I was younger.
Okay, good. Boats are optional. Gnomish translocators located now near boats now instantly port players across oceans. Boats are still available for rides. Why? Why not just get rid of them? They're terrible at pathing. You know, the rowers boogie, you know.
For the classic experience.
Stop it.
When Oakwynd started, I was trying to get people to just go to the boat and just hang out on the boat. But there's only like 2 other people, and they're just like probably there anyways. But yeah, like now you get there to the docks and you talk to an NPC and you just say Butcher Block or Freeport, and you're teleported immediately to the next zone. And it's really, it's quicker, but it changes the game. You know,
it does, doesn't it? You know, I mean, I dislike the boats and the fact that they're a little bit unreliable, right? But I get the point of them being there, and you know, I kind of like the little bit of downtime that you get. But I think that everybody goes AFK on them anyway. So this whole idea of, you know, a little bit of social cohesion whilst you're on the boat, it's for the birds, really, because I don't think anyone talks So, you do get that sense of, not sense of exploration because you know where you're going, but you get a sense of how big the world is, if you know what I mean. That's it. That's all you get, really. And the thrill when you end up falling off the boat and half drowning.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, that's great fun, especially if you're in an ocean of tears and some sharks start coming after you and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, I like the idea of the enormous translocators, I've got to say. I just think they should have fixed boats, really. It makes sense to me, I guess. Soul binders, go on, what do these do? They bind your soul.
It's a thing. It kind of makes it less social because you used to, like for melee, you'd have to ask, pay money or ask somebody to join your group and bind you in a specific spot each time you wanted to change that spot, And now they have soul binders in pretty much every city. You just go talk to it and say, bind me, and it's done. Right. So it saves times, but it also just changes how the game was played.
For the benefit of the tape of pulling a face. It's just another reason not to need some caster classes with bind, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, pretty much all of them have it, right?
Yeah.
The bind.
I mean, I've had people run up to me and say, bind me, and I've bound them. It's not a bother.
Yeah. I don't even bind myself anymore. Like I just go to the soul binder and I don't on my necro.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
No.
I don't think about it. Because I have planes of power now, so there's only one place I need to be bound.
Oh no. Where's that then? Plane of knowledge?
Yeah, plane of knowledge. Just at the soul binder.
Yeah. Yeah, there used to be a crowd of people hanging around the soul binder, I remember. I think, when did that come out then? Because did that come out as part of the planes of power, the soul binder?
I don't think so. I think it was after that.
I was going to say, I seem to remember it. So it must have been Legacy of Yakisha or something like that, or Lost Dungeons of Noroth or somewhere around there. I remember soul binders for some reason.
I don't.
No?
No.
Maybe it's a Mandela effect. Maybe I'm just thinking I remember it. Revamped textures in many classic zones. Locally player model textures can be turned off and classic textures used. So now then, I went on to Project Qualm just to give that a go, and they've got revamped textures on there. And it was in Akanon, and I was in mixed. I didn't know whether I liked it or not, in all fairness. And it was kind of like, meh. Okay, yeah. It's this now, is it? And I wasn't that fussed, but I get that they've tidied it up a bit, I suppose. But it didn't appear as sharp as the original. Does that make sense? It seemed a bit fuzzy.
Yeah, this isn't really something like I would notice, like different textures. I don't really care. Like I know the Luklin textures, like I'll use them for a little bit, and then I might get tired of it, and I'll turn them off. Or maybe like I like how the ogres look, so I'll have them turn on for a little bit.
Yeah,
just them. I can't not have too much to say about these other textures for the zones.
Yeah, I mean they were so overdue on having a revamp. I do think.
Yeah, that's true.
When they eventually did the revamp, it was too little, too late. I think that was my feeling on it. But your mileage may vary.
Yeah, I haven't noticed anything.
Right.
So there's one I want to point out that is not listed here that definitely needs to be pointed out. Old classic. Okay, you would summon your pet, right?
Yeah.
And that pet could be between, a few different levels, right? Or 4 different levels.
Yeah.
Okay, when you're on a TLP, it's already max level.
Right.
So you don't have to do that whole
summon your pet again.
Yeah. It's always going to be max level. You don't have to check.
I'm wondering if people even think about that. Do you know what? I haven't looked at that at all, because whenever I've summoned my pet, it's kind of like being blue, right? Most of the time, which I think is the correct color it should be. But there's once or twice I've got a green one. Yeah. And I've just thought, oh, that's a bit weird. But I've rolled with it anyway. So I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're losing a lot of DPS on your pet. And I know the way to figure it out is like how much damage your pet's doing, because there's a chart that P99 forums that tells you how much damage your pet does for each level. So that's one thing to watch.
I'm going to. Thank you for that. I also remembered, well, I didn't remember, whilst I was in South Karana, this character came over and just sort of thrust these null hide lariats in my face and said, give your pet these. And everything just came flooding back. Oh my God, the stun proc. It's just like brilliant. So anyway, that was my pet sorted for the next level or two. Brilliant.
Yeah. Take part in the show, book yourself in and have your say. We'd love to hear from you. Visit richardsonsrubicon.com.
There we have it. Thank you, Rob, for doing that and taking part. I'm just going to read out some feedback I got on the Project 1999 forums in the starting zone. I made a post saying the QOL differences between P99 and TLP, and a lot of people have responded. So, I mean, overall, because I wanted to get a bit of balance, I mean, obviously Rob is quite pro the TLP stuff, because that's where he's just invested an annual subscription, and he's obviously played on P99 before, and it's not quite his cup of tea now. However, it is my cup of tea because it's where the bulk of my memories come from playing in Classic. So I just wanted to see what other people thought as well. And we've had quite a spread of opinion, which is great. So Jolinar on the forum says, individually, none of the changes are deal breakers for the most part, but when you add them all up, it makes the game feel completely different. Rager has responded and said, this part of the game is where I diverge from the P99 mentality. Mentality? QOL implementations would be an improvement, but it is not Classic. So, c'est la vie, P99 is what the devs make it, deal with it or leave. I don't think it's a little bit brutal, that response, but I think, on the subject of brutalism, I am agreeing with McCoy, who basically says most of these by themselves make it a completely different game. It's the brutal unfairness that makes EQ so drawing, at least for me. There are a number of other MMOs to play if you want easy mode. It just doesn't feel the same when you accomplish anything as compared to Classic. And I agree with that, and that's why I quite supportive of corpse runs, for example. And Rager has also agreed and said the revamped zones were horrible for the most part. Freeport in particular was atrocious, and I wouldn't call those quality of life improvements by any means. And if you're thinking about what are these quality of life improvements, I'll link them in the show notes so that you have something to hang your comment on. And you can see that some of them are, I think, a little bit quality of life, and one or two of them would be quite handy. But a lot of them, if they're putting the game on easy mode, then it just, you could play on Quam, for example, or any of the other private servers which are trying to do that sort of thing, or indeed play on the TLP servers. Edric has made a really interesting post on that thread and hyperlinked the Solo Artist Challenge, which to me seems, I've never heard of this before, but it's a whole list of mobs that you've got to tackle solo to give you an idea as to how hard the game can be, I guess, and how challenging it can be. And they've commented, my takeaway from a month of 2 of TLP play several years ago was that my character on the TLP seemed more powerful there than the equivalent leveled P99 character. To me, this felt off and slightly overpowered to what I was used to. Ultimately, the slightly easier gameplay led me to losing interest on the TLP much earlier than I would have here, which is interesting. So the staying power of Classic tends to be what gets people to stay. The challenge gets people to stay, gives it a staying power. And I think that's really, really it. Someone else's Raider again has commented, basically saying, what's the problem with having a shared bank? Kind of agree. And then we've got another comment by Trox, who's basically said, as EQ expansions marched forward, the game felt smaller and smaller and less complex and interactive. Travel was too fast. The game was too easy. The communities and the players became more insular. Everyone boxed. Mercenaries really killed the grouping game. And he goes on and on and on. And ends it with, first time I logged into P99 and made my way to EC Tunnel to see the vibrant hawking of goods, it nearly brought a tear to my eye. And I've got to agree, that's exactly what I was saying in previous episodes. It's the community. It's all the way these bits of classic make people interact with each other, gives a greater sense of community. So I think that is fantastic. I think what I'll do on the next episode is talk a little bit about Tunnel Quest. If you don't know what that is, you can ask me, but basically it'll be explained in the next episode. And if you've got any ideas or want to join in, you know where to go. It's richardsonsrubicon.com, and basically subscribe, rate and review the podcast. Actually, bear with me a second. We've got a review on Apple Podcasts. It's a 5 out of 5. We've got 2 ratings, both 5 out of 5, but 1 review. Quincy400 left a review on the 1st of August. No, that's an American date. The 8th of January, saying, thanks, great podcast. I'm really enjoying EQ episodes. I hope you continue. Thank you, Quincy. I hope I continue too. Anyway, that's me signing off now. Thanks very much for listening and taking part. I hope to see you again and get in touch. Or send an email to john@richardsonsrubicon.com or visit the site richardsonsrubicon.com and leave a message. Thank you. Bye.